and welcome back to the WarDawg Trail podcast. I am your host, Sergeant WarDawg, and I'm joined by my co-host,
Coming. Good morning, America. Hello from down under again. Run with us today. Tomo's trying to take the lead here. Cut us a little bit of slack while Tomo plays with the technical difficulties.
Right on. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 136 of the WarDawg Trail podcast, and we have a special guest you today. This is probably the highest ranking Marine I've ever had on the show. All right, so we always bring you great guests, but like I said, you're gonna get a totally different slice of education from our guest here today. All right, now quick announcements. Remember, you can buy a copy of my book, The WarDawg Trail, A Marine Rifleman's Struggle with War and PTSD, on Apple Books, Audible, and Amazon. Remember, the book won an award from bookauthority.org for one of the best Iraq War books of all time. Without further ado, we now bring to the stage our guest, our highest ranking Marine to be on the show, the one, the only Sergeant Major Ted Painter. Welcome to the show.
Hey guys. Hey, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
All right. We appreciate you coming on.
Sure.
If you don't mind, Sergeant, start us off. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
I was just going to make sure. Do you want me calling you sir?
No. You can just call me Ted, man. It's all good. It's all good.
Beautiful, Ted.
Yeah.
I can't help you, Sergeant Major.
I can do. I can do it real quick. So I'm Ted Painter, AVP of Operations for CareSource Military and Veterans. So we're a subsidiary of CareSource. We focus on government healthcare programs. Like the team said here, I'm a sergeant major in the Marine Corps Reserves. I did 10 years active duty, transitioned to the reserves back in 2012, and been in the reserves ever since. So I'm currently the squadron sergeant major for HMLA 773 at the Joint Base McGuire Dix up in New Jersey. I live in Florida, but I fly up there every month for drill. Still continuing to serve in the best way that I can, and helping not only the folks that I help through CareSource, but I get a unique opportunity to help continue to support my Marines, a lot of which have actually unique healthcare challenges for themselves and their families. So it's been unique and a blessing to be able to continue to do that. So yeah, just happy to be here.
Right on. Like you said, we really appreciate hearing your background with us. Will you also let us know where everyone can find you online or social media?
Yeah, so you can so on social media you can find us under CareSource Military and Veterans, or CSMV. You can find out more information about us on caresourcemilitary.com. Also, if you want to give us a call, you can do that as well. The number is 833-230-2080. So there's a lot of different ways to get in contact with us, but those are the best. If you give us a call, our customer service folks are awesome. They're military affiliated, they're trained, they're ready to go. And so we can, answer any questions folks have about what we're doing, and specifically around Tricare this year, which I think would be interesting and new for a lot of folks who are still eligible for Tricare in the military community.
How long is this? Oh, sorry, Cass. I was just wanting to know, mate. How long in your out of your transition, mate, did you start from when you switched over to reservist? Did you start giving back to your community, or found the role that you're now currently in?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. So I think, and just a little bit of additional backstory. While I was on active duty, I was stationed in Okinawa, and I fell pretty ill.
Hey man.
I got pretty sick while I was stationed in Okinawa, and went back to Balboa in San Diego. Long story, but fully recovered, obviously, and all that. But when all that took place, I really felt the need to get into the healthcare space. Didn't know exactly how I was going to get there. I was a radio operator in the Marine Corps. I mean, so it wasn't a direct line to like healthcare, right?
Yeah.
And even when I transitioned, I hate to say this, but I tell people all the time, I was one of those guys. I had no plan.
Yeah.
Okay. I was getting off active duty. My wife and kids had already moved back to Ohio. I thought I was going to be a highway patrolman or something. No clue. At that time, there were some big organizations making a big push to hire 100,000 veterans. And I was lucky enough, I was able to land a job in the financial space as a project manager. And I did that for a couple of years. And it just wasn't really speaking to me. It wasn't really, it was a good job and paid well. And I learned a lot, but those companies are all about the bottom line all the time. Right. And so I wanted to do something a little bit differently. I still wanted to get into the healthcare space. Wasn't sure exactly how that was going to work, but it just so happens a position came up at CareSource. And again, I had no real healthcare background, but they hired me as a senior project manager. And I quickly learned, the healthcare space from this perspective. And, as a Tricare beneficiary, and I'm a service connected, disabled veteran, I saw right away what CareSource was doing for people who are on Medicaid, Medicare Advantage, Marketplace, which is, what they typically focus on. And I was just like blown away. I was like, if we can do, a percentage of what we do for these other groups of folks, we can make a huge difference for the military and veteran community. And again, I mean, I think it's been an interesting journey. I joined CareSource in 2015, so I've been working for them for about 10 years now. 10 years. And sort of all the pieces and parts just kind of fell into place over the years, right? And we've been, dabbling into, veteran programs and pilots with VA, and some things, opportunities came up with Tricare. And one thing led to another, and we were able to establish CareSource Military Veterans because the CareSource company believes in what we're trying to do. And so we started the company. It's a federal contracting subsidiary, and it's structured to go after federal contracts. And we bid and won 2 Tricare Prime contracts, one in Atlanta, one in Tampa. So like the greater region of those 2 cities. And folks who are eligible for Tricare Prime or Tricare Select in those regions are eligible to choose. They actually have a choice this year for who provides their Tricare benefits to them. So like today in the East, if you're on Tricare East, Humana provides your care. In the West, it's TriWest, right? And so typically it's just those 2 big contractors, and that's how it's divvied out. So folks don't really have much of a choice. If you live in the East, it's Humana, and that's it, right? So the government wanted to, insert some competition into the mix, some overlapping, provider networks, and a different model on how to do the care and manage the care. Those folks that are on Tricare Prime that we're going to be providing, they don't lose any benefits. It's the same Tricare Prime benefits. It's no extra cost to them, and in some ways they're going to save money. And it's an easier delivery model. And so what I mean by that is, today for traditional Tricare, if you need to go see a specialist, you're required to get a referral from your doc, right? Well, then that referral has to be approved by the government. So, I mean, that can lead to some delays, and people are like, well, I need this appointment, or I need this surgery, or whatever, right? Well, we won't have any referrals.
Yeah.
So we're aligned to the rest of the industry on, we're not going to play gatekeeper for people. If we've got a specialist we need to see and they're in our network, well, you need to go, just go. And you'll be covered and you'll be good to go. So yeah, I mean, long story short, I mean, it was sort of a windy road to get here. And, it's funny because when I interact with some of the folks at DOD who are still with the uniform on, some of the Navy guys, for example, like the docs, the one guy I work with is he's an officer now, but he was a Marine, and it like blows his mind that a Marine Corps Sergeant Major is managing a health plan. It makes no sense, right?
Hell, it blows my mind.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes I question like how it happened, but it's been an interesting road, but I mean, even what we're doing now, I mean, it's not like this just happened overnight. I mean, I've been really bird dogging this for about 6 years. So it's been a long time coming, but we're super excited about it. We think we can make a big difference. Our whole team is military affiliated, whether they're, still serving like me, or a veteran, or a spouse of a service member, or whatever. So that's what the team is made up of. And so we're putting that experience into everything that we're doing, so that folks who decide to choose to, us for their healthcare, they get a different experience than what they're used to. So.
It sounds amazing. It sounds absolutely amazing. I know the systems are very different, or by the sounds of it, they're very different here. I think they're based off a similar sort of setup, but obviously there's a difference between public and private, and ours is still public, I believe. We walk into any doctors, any surgeries. But yeah, to see that you're bridging that gap in an area where, obviously these big companies, this Tricare, I'm assuming is equivalent to our DVA, is that system gets overwhelmed when you get an influx of veterans, and that system's support tends to sway out because they don't have the resources. Right. And it feels like what you've created here is a sort of a in between. You sort of become the buffer once again. And looking after the Marines. That's awesome, mate. That's really, really amazing. I've been following for quite some years the way that the countries heal their veterans differently, and that's amazing to see that there's guys like yourself pushing to improve the system so guys can get the help that they need to get better.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's very many of us that have the firsthand experience of what it's like to be a Tricare beneficiary or go to the VA, right, and try to navigate that, which is interesting, right? And has a ton of challenge. I mean, I would say for both, right? DOD and VA, there's a lot of good people there they're trying to do the right thing, right? But they're living within the bureaucracy of it all, right? And so it's hard to maneuver. It's hard to quickly make a change. If something's not working, well, it's not going to work for years, right? Because that's just the nature of the beast. And so it just really takes them a long time. It was tough. Obviously they couldn't, the Titanic couldn't move fast enough out of the way, the iceberg, right? Yeah. So, I mean, and so that's what you're sort of dealing with. But when you bring organizations in like CareSource, and I want to tell you a little bit about CareSource too, because we're actually, CareSource, the parent company, is actually a nonprofit company. But we're in 14 states and we're already serving 2 million members. And what I've always loved about CareSource, is that, we don't have we've got a board, but we don't, have shareholders, right? And so we're not beholden to shareholders. We're beholden to the members that we serve. So we're able to take more money and time and effort, invest it there rather than with shareholders. And I think that's why we've seen, our ability to make such a difference in people's lives. And it's like, why not do that for the military community, the veteran community? So like, I like to tell people, we're big enough to make a major difference, but small enough and agile enough. Like if something's wrong, we're going to fix it. Like we do little things, like people, like they call us, or if they can't find their doctor on our site or something like that, or the information's incorrect. Well, we provide them all these feedback loops to make sure, like, hey, this address for my doctor's not right, or their specialty's wrong, or whatever. Then we take that information, we run with that, and we fix those problems. I just think we've got a little bit more flexibility in the way we're structured than the government does, and which should make sense to folks. And so, a lot of the basics and the government requirements are still there, but we're managing them in a way that from an experience perspective, it's not a negative experience to people. So we're able to your point, to provide that buffer to some of these things that I think have been in place for decades now. But don't always, function the way real life functions, right? So that's what we're trying to do, is just bring our flavor of healthcare to the community, and hopefully we can make a big difference for the long term, trajectory of Tricare and how it works. So
excellent. That's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, we're pretty excited. Yeah.
I bet you would be, after all the hard work, finally getting to see it start to pay off, things starting to get implemented. It must be pretty exciting times.
Yeah, it's a lot of persistence. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think you ever do like those strength finder things, or whatever. And I think mine said my biggest strength is persistence, and my biggest weakness is persistence. Because I won't let it go,
Yeah.
So
Can I have a small moment of humor amongst us as military men? Right. Sergeant Major, your facial expression reminds me obviously of a true, serious, the earth, serious to everything Sergeant Major, right? I wanted to ask you, because you remind me of things that people ask me, or that people probably ask Tomo as well. Do you get a lot of civilians that say to you, man, like, are you mad, or you're so serious faced, or you get any of that, Sergeant Major, from the civilian? That you don't smile enough, you don't laugh enough.
Yeah. The funny thing is, when I transitioned off active duty, I was a staff sergeant, and I was still high and to the right all the time, right? So and I started working with civilians and in a corporate space, and so I was like, what is happening? And so I was still wanting to kick down doors and jump on desks, and when I tell you to do something, you're going to do it.
Do it.
But
Major on their ass.
Yeah. So I mean, I had a lot of really good discussions with HR for the first year and a half. Well, and but it ended up being good, right? Because I learned quickly, and unfortunately, sometimes the Marine Corps doesn't do a good job of like teaching you this, but it's about relationships, right? And more so than I can't knife hand Betty Boo over here, right? To get a spreadsheet done, or whatever. And so I started. I was like, I gotta adapt, because I even started thinking to myself, like, dude, what are you doing? And so I started to adapt. And it's funny. So I came to CareSource and continued to develop as a leader in the civilian space. And it's interesting how it's also changed how I do it as a sergeant major in the reserves too.
Really?
And you know, I'm not the sergeant major I thought I would be back when I was a corporal, right?
Yeah.
I didn't even really think about being a sergeant major because I was like so like out of mind and reach. And it's not like, and a lot of the sergeants majors today are not like what we grew up with, right?
No.
As what we're used to. But I think in a lot of ways in a good way.
Yeah.
In a good way, right? Because, you know, sometimes, you know, the things that would, you know, happen are, you know, cutting grass with scissors and you know, for walking on the general.
Rocks.
Yeah. I'm at 29 Palms and I cut a corner on the general's lawn. Dude got me like that. I was like, where are you? Like, and you know, next thing you know, I'm literally cutting grass with scissors. It's crazy. But and
Hey,
you know, there's a
same
time.
here. Same here.
Yeah. I mean, there's a time and place for all that stuff. But I think today, you know, like we're all sort of I mean, you guys have probably seen how the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps, Sergeant Major Luis he's very different.
Well, yeah, this one's like nice.
Oh.
He's cool as hell.
Yeah.
I'm not used to it.
And I've interacted with him a few times over the years, and he's a different breed of Sergeant Major, 100%. But I think the goal is still the same, right? Like we got to take care of Marines, right? We got to take care of their families, because everybody's coming to the conclusion now that they never wanted to deal with before. But you know, retention issues, or like in healthcare, the same thing too. I mean, we got a lot of guys that they end up having to get out because their families have, you know, significant issues, and the military doesn't do what it takes to retain them because, oh, well, you cost too much.
Yep.
Or you're too much of a, you know, whatever. But I think the leadership today, and what I've learned, you know, in the healthcare space, I mean, it's actually kind of helped transform even what I do in the Marines. But there are times still, I mean, people at CareSource, they know like how I am and how I go about my business, which is very different than everybody else. Just had one of those type of, where, yeah, the rank came out and it was, you know, it got ugly, but it's not always like that. But no, yeah, I mean, it is true. I mean, I think, you know, coming from the military into spaces like this, you know, especially Marines, I mean, you know, we're just built a little bit different, but you know, I think in the beginning, you're right. I mean, people were kind of like, based how I act, you know, like, are you all right? Like, like, yeah, man, it's just how I am, you know?
I grew up with a sergeant major as a father. I know that face all too well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, don't talk to my kids because, you know.
Okay, but before we get back to the topic at hand, and we have you talk about the benefits for the Guard and Reserve, I'm just curious, what were one of those HR talks like to a sergeant major?
Well, you know, you can't say certain things, right? And
I can see how politically you're trying to be right now. Politically correct.
Right. And they're like, yeah, well, you know, you can't really say that to people, you know, or, you know, whatever. And because this just doesn't happen to me anymore. But this, you know, back then it was, you know, it was, and I think a lot of companies, when they were making big pushes to hire a bunch of GWAT vets, they were like quickly learning, like, okay, we just hired 100,000 of these dudes, right? we got to figure out like how to learn and it, you know, it was good. It was good. Yeah. But I mean, it was nothing like too crazy, you know. But it's, yeah, I mean, there's just things that, you know, you're used to saying, you know, to your Marines, or you cannot say that stuff in the quote at all. Not at all. Yeah.
All right. So imagine,
Yes.
how difficult our own transitions were. Well, from a sergeant major's perspective, where he's used to commanding all. You imagine his transition. How difficult.
It was so funny. You're thinking the exact same line as me. Like I've spent so much time in this transition base working it out for a digger, for a private, in a position of power, or somewhere where you walk and everyone moves out of the way. And yes, sir, no, sir.
Yeah.
You don't. It's that rank on your chest is automatic authority. You don't have that rank when you step outside. You're going into a place, you think it's hard for us boys to adjust into the civilian workplace. It must have been absolutely chaotic for you.
Well, and that's why I'm saying when I transitioned, I was a staff sergeant. So I wasn't a sergeant major yet. So, and I did 10 years active. And so I think that was probably like the best time to do it.
Yeah.
Because it gave me time to figure it out and to adjust. But yeah, like, I mean, some of these guys who do, 30, 35 years and they're sergeants majors or they're colonels or it's definitely, it's gotta be mentally, such a big, huge difference for them. And, but I think what I've learned through all that too is cause you're right. When I go to drill, I mean, it's like that, right. As a sergeant major, but I think, in the civilian space, I mean, you can get sort of similar reaction from people. It's because but it's not about rank. It's about respect. Right.
Yeah.
And ultimately that's what it should be about.
100%
for both anyway. But yeah, that's really what it's about. I think, you do what you say you're going to do, right? You back up your people and take care of your people. And, you may not always, be the kindest, gentlest person to deal with, but people know they can trust you. Right. Yeah. And I think for people, transitioning, the biggest thing I would say is, don't come to the table trying to force everybody to be in the Marine Corps, because that ain't gonna happen.
100%.
Right? I mean, I think that you have got to do your best to adapt. And
we're going back to civilian life. We're not joining the military again. We're joining their world, which is a weird thing as a reservist, man. It's like I got to change my brain. The funny thing is, when I was a first sergeant, I was with a reserve combat engineer company in Charleston, West Virginia. Oh, there you go.
And so, I would drive 3 hours to drill. We'd get on a bus, drive 8 hours to Quantico, blow up a bunch of stuff, drive 8 hours back, 3 hours home. It'd be midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday night. I got to work the next morning in a regular job.
Yep.
Right. And so, I had to stop being a first sergeant right away and, shift. And so it makes you even more I think agile in what you do. It's so, and not everybody can do that, but yeah, it's been interesting. But yeah, I think it's just more about a respect thing than it is a rank thing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sergeant Major. Like I said, you're the highest ranking Marine we've ever had. So to hear your perspective about anything is amazing, but especially I've never heard someone as high as you describe civilian transition. But getting back to CareSource military and veterans, will you tell us what advice you have for those in the National Guard and reserves? What would you, the steps you tell them to immediately, hey, do this, then, this will get you locked on, squared away with healthcare?
Yeah, so I think there's different types of Tricare, right? And for reserve and guard, it's Tricare Reserve Select would be their option. Now, when you get mobilized, you get put on orders. Your family now becomes eligible for Tricare Prime or Tricare Select, and so you've got you've got to be mindful of those changes and when they occur, so that you know what to do and for your family and make the best choices that you can for them. If you're, this fall here, starting November 10th, it's called open season. It's what Tricare calls it. And it gives everybody the ability to go out there and enroll into Tricare. So the folks in the Atlanta area and the Tampa area, if they're already eligible for Tricare Prime or Select, well, it's a great opportunity for them, but they have to take action to do it. So they can either go out and do this through MillConnect, make a change and select CareSource Military and Veterans. You can call us or go to our website and we can walk you through the steps. There's also another government contractor that will work with them and these folks to help get them enrolled. But I think for folks in the Atlanta, Tampa areas that are typically, they're used to, well, I don't have to go out and do anything. My status hasn't changed and I have Tricare and all good. I mean, if they want to actually exercise their options this year, they have to go physically out there and take action to get it. And so, again, they can go to our website, caresourcemilitary.com. They can give us a call. And we can walk them through the whole process. And so I think, what these folks are going to get is a Tricare Prime benefit, but with no referrals, like we talked about. So that's a big benefit and why people choose Tricare Select oftentimes, because they don't want to deal with the referrals, right? Well, we're giving them Tricare Prime, but with no referrals. For those families that pay an enrollment fee today for Tricare Prime, these are mostly retirees and their families. They won't have an enrollment fee to pay for the first 12 years. So it's being waived by the government. So a little bit more money in their pocket. They won't have to deal with referrals. And for the first 90 days that they're with us, let's say their provider for some reason isn't in our network. Well, they're going to still be able to go see that provider for 90 days while we work to contract with them. And so they don't have to be concerned about a gap in their care or missing an appointment that they need or anything like that. So we're going to try to make this as smooth as possible for folks that want to actually exercise their options this year, which these folks typically, never have had the option to do. So, if they're the family of an active duty service member, retiree and their survivors, again, families of reserve and guard who are mobilized. You've got even those exceptional family members may also be eligible as well. So these are mostly kids with special needs and so on. So those are the folks who can sign up. I just, glad we were able to talk today and folks hear this, and so that people can spread the word and let people know that we exist for one, and hey, we're here to do the best that we can for you, and do it in a different way. I think it's the care they deserve, and it's a choice that they've earned, and just really excited to get this in front of folks and start to make a big change for Tricare as a whole for the long term, not the short term. So that's what I would tell folks to do.
Right on. And can you provide the dates for the open season for the viewers?
Yeah, it's November 10th of 2025 through December 9th. So it's fitting that it starts on the Marine Corps birthday, obviously. I did that on purpose.
Right on.
Yeah, so November 10th to December 9th. And again, they can, if folks aren't aware, so like they can go out and log into MillConnect, and they can actually do it through that application that the government owns. Or they can just go to our site, they can give us a call, and we'll walk them through the process. So we've already got folks in place, trained, ready to go. So it should be pretty easy. We're ready to answer all their questions and help them get enrolled and go from there. So yeah, those are the dates. And so it's, within that window, it's important for them to understand what we offer and to make a choice. And if they choose to stick with what they have today, that's fine too. But just really want people to know that they have actually an option this year. So, yeah.
Right on. Excellent.
And
Excellent.
may I ask? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tomo.
All right, mate. I was just going to ask. I'll hit in with your question, mate, because this one's probably more pertinent to anyone listening from Australia. More so, it's obviously a different system, mate. I'm interested in you speak about the families. Obviously, so the families fall under your Tricare, and is this you offer them the same sort of support that you do the veteran or the serviceman, a woman?
Yeah. So this is a little unique because it's what the government calls a demonstration. Yep. This is we're testing something, which I know a lot of people when they hear that they're like, oh, I don't want to be a gig, right? Like, and that's not what this is. So this is a real health plan, people. So just everybody knows. And so what they're going to get is the same Tricare Prime benefit. What's going to be different is how they get supported through the benefit.
Yep.
So so we're going to have a care management team, and they're going to be comprised of behavioral health specialists, care managers, care coordinators. They're going to have, every time you call the call center, for example, they're going to have somebody assigned to them. So they're going to get the same person every time they call.
Oh, that's amazing. Just in itself.
It's the little things, man. I mean,
it is.
And people, that's how you build trust with people, right? You got to take care of the little things, because then the big things, right, themselves. So it's again, like they're not losing any benefits. They get the same benefits and services they would always get with Tricare Prime. But they get a little bit, more money in their pocket, especially for the first year. They don't have to deal with the amount of time it takes to get a referral approved, I think it's just, they're going to have, for folks who have, some complex health needs, maybe, a few chronic conditions, they're going to get an integrated care plan. Somebody's going to be walking them through that. I mean, tobacco cessation, all the things. And it's not like traditional Tricare doesn't offer those things. They do. Yeah. But it's like, it's like in the military, they're like, hey, go to this website, read everything on it. That's, have a nice day. Right. Yeah. It's like, okay. I mean, most families, and if you're not close to healthcare, right? Because this used to be me. I would go out there and, me and my wife would read all this stuff on there, and it's just jam packed with information, and you don't know what to make of it. You're like, what am I supposed to do with this now? Right. Well, we do it a little bit different. So we're going to give you a little bit of the information that you need, but then we're going to talk you through the rest. And so it's just a different mindset. It's a different way to manage healthcare. And I think folks are going to be pretty pleasantly surprised at what we're going to offer them. And again, it's not necessarily what we're offering, but it's how we're offering it.
It feels like you're creating more of a personalized experience tailored around that specific, each individual's needs.
Exactly. We call it a white glove approach or a high touch approach.
Of course, it's a white glove. You're a sergeant major.
Inspection.
Yeah, but but that's what you got to do. Because we're brand new to Tricare. Right. And so people don't know who we are. Yep. They don't know me from Adam or anything. And so it's like people are apprehensive. And I think if folks have sort of spent years navigating maybe a poor experience, they hear, oh, this is a demo, or whatever. And understandably, I think I would probably feel the same way, Yep. But I think the more and more they engage with us, and we have conversations and explain how things are going to work. And I think folks are going to be happy, but the success of what we're doing really hinges on people signing up. If we only get, 100 people sign up, well, we're going to take really excellent care of those 100 people.
100 people.
Right. But we need thousands, right? Because that's going to generate the data to show that what we're doing is a better way to do it. And so that's why we're just trying to get the word out there any way we can.
Right.
Well, apologies that we've timing.
I'm sorry. I was just asking Sergeant Major, we're looking on your time hack. You're okay, or do you need to step out soon?
Yeah.
Or?
No, I'm good. I think I'm good till 1300. So.
Okay. Well, before we get to our favorite question, do you have any final thoughts you'd like to leave with the service members and veterans as well that you would like to hear this information?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think at the end of the day, if you want to make a change, if you want something different than what you're getting today, you're going to have to take some actions to do that. We're set up to make that as smooth as possible, for you and your families. Visit CareSourceMilitary.com. Give us a call at 833-230-2080, and we'll do our best to answer all your questions, and hopefully you're comfortable enough to select us to provide your health care and make a difference in your lives, the way we've been doing in our other populations for over 30 years. So we're just excited to be a part of Tricare and looking forward to serving military and veteran families the best we know how. But again, like if you want to change for what we think will be better, you got to take action to do it. And also you can do this through MilConnect too, as well, if you're familiar with that approach. So yeah, just, and again, happy to answer any questions for anybody. One way or another, we just want to make sure that they're aware that they have a choice and hopeful that they select us. So yeah, really appreciate the time.
Yeah, roger that. Now, can I ask you one thing? Because I really am familiar with seeing CareSource on base, but I've never heard of the CareSource military and veterans. Is that a new, concept or division?
It's really new. We established it in 23, I believe. But yeah, it's a subsidiary to CareSource, and it's a new division. It's 100% focused on federal programs like Tricare or like VA programs or other federal contracts. So we've got our eyes on not just what we're doing here for Tricare Prime right now, but we've got our eyes on other opportunities as well to continue to dive into the military veteran community and help however we can. So yeah, but it's fairly new. And again, these Tricare contracts were our first win. So, and we're just building a ton of momentum off of that.
Excellent.
Right. Excellent. Now, we love to ask all of our guests, and this is going to be especially unique coming from a Sergeant Major. Please tell us your 3 favorite guns. I know we can only limit it to 3, but we like to know what each person prefers.
Well, I'm not going to say a Beretta. I love my M4, man. I mean, we carried that everywhere, but that's got a special place in my heart. I think the 1911, has a special place in War history, and I think that's a good one.
I'm a 45 man, Sergeant Major.
Yeah,
I don't like less than 45.
Yeah, that's got some power to it for sure. And I'd probably say, maybe a Remington 870.
Nice. Okay. So we're looking at the Remington 870 as well as the M4, right? And your third, I'm sorry, the third one you said was
the
1911. 1911. Okay, 1911. All right. That's amazing. Tomo, you have any last words for Sergeant Major?
Sergeant Major, no, thank you. It's great to see what's happening on the other side of the seas, and it's great to see someone that was in a position taking care of his diggers, as we say down in Oz, and then putting that back into something that's really required after our service. You know, I'm personally in and out of hospitals and everything on the way home, coming home from my deployment, mate. Having the right care team around you and the right support is paramount in our recoveries, post service, getting our bodies right, getting our minds right, and to have a system in there that you've seen that there's some flaws there and it can be done better, and then putting something together to implement that to better the veterans and military community, mate. Hats off. Thank you very much for doing what you're doing.
Yeah, appreciate that.
All right, right on. Now, I just don't want to make sure I don't step on your title at all. You are the vice president, is that correct, Sergeant Major of CareSource?
It's AVP, Associate Vice President.
Okay.
Yeah, Associate Vice President of Operations for CSMB. Yep.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode 136 of the WarDawg Trail podcast with the one, the only, the highest ranking Marine we've had on the show, Sergeant Major Ted Painter, also the Associate Vice President of CareSource Military and Veterans. Thank you for coming to the show, Sergeant Major, and salute.
It's been a pleasure, guys.
Thank you very much, Mike.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Right on.